What's going on, guys? It's Salvajee, and we're back at it again with another Ashe guide. So I have been loving this brand new hero, and one of the biggest things that I love about her is that with Widowmaker, as you guys know, when it comes down to a lot of my guides, most of her strategies, if not all of her strategies, require mechanical aim. But Ashe is a hero that you don't need great mechanical aim to actually be very effective with her. And that's why for my second Ashe guide, I wanted to just bring you guys a couple of combat tips, a couple of gameplay tactics that you guys can keep in mind as you are using Ashe, as you're fighting in the battlefield with her, to of course be more effective with her. Let's talk about the coach gun. Okay guys, keep in mind her coach gun is really good when it comes down to the offensive and defensive side of things, but it's also extremely great when it comes down to the positioning side of things. Positioning with Ashe is very, very important, so make sure that you're using her coach gun to position yourself in the right spots. And if you don't know the right spots for Ashe, don't worry guys, I'm already working on an Ashe positioning series for every single map, just like I did with Widowmaker, so be on the lookout for that because that series is going to be amazing. When it comes down to Ashe, you don't really want to be doing a lot of fighting within the close range sort of area, because if you're fighting at close range of Ashe, you're just not going to be as effective because you're not going to be able to get in a lot of scope shots. So if you guys see yourself sort of being very, very close to the teammates, make sure that you use the coach gun to get away. Now, here's another tip. If you guys use the coach gun for mobility, when it comes down to that tip, you know, if there's a lot of enemies, you feel like they're pushing at you, you know, use the coach gun to like escape. Make sure that you have awareness of what the enemy team has in store for you, and make sure that you also know where your teammates are at. Here's what I mean by that, right? You don't want to use the coach gun to basically get a little bit away from the enemies as they're getting close to you, and then realize that you don't have any teammates around you, so then the enemy wins and jumps on you and you instantly die, right? So you want to make sure that as you disengage with the coach gun, that of course you have teammates around you to protect you. Like in this gameplay example right here, I use the coach gun to basically just get away. And then of course I use the coach gun for my second tip. If someone gets up close to you, or an enemy just gets you know, sort of like up in your face, you can actually use the coach gun to 1, damage them, and 2, sort of send them away. But here's the thing, right? Here's the trick. As you use the coach gun to send them away, you want to make sure that you want to aim specifically where you think the target is going to land at after, of course, that knockback, because that's going to give you basically a guaranteed shot and a really high chance of course, eliminating your opponent. So that's one of the most important things that I have noticed as I've been playing Ashe. But keep in mind, guys, she's only been in the game for like, what, a week and a half, and she hasn't even jumped into competitive yet. I can't wait to get back into competitive with Ashe. It's going to be amazing. But anyways, let's talk about the Dynamite. Alright, I want to keep this video short and simple, and I just want to talk about, you know, specific things and fundamentals that you need to dominate with Ashe on combat. So I'm not going to go too deep into the Dynamite because I'm going to make a separate video on it, as well as I'm going to make a separate video on how to get better accuracy with Ashe, by the way, because that is also a highly requested video that I've been getting. But the point is, you want to use the Dynamite. You want to go out of your way to most of the time that you're going to throw your Dynamite to use it when you're about to engage an opponent, okay? Like for example, in this gameplay example right here, I know that there's a lot of bad guys that are sort of like grouped up together, so I'm going to throw my Dynamite at them. Like that I can sort of do an AoE damage on them, and then I can start firing away at them. They're going to be weak, but most importantly, and one of my favorite things about Ashe, she's such a team player, right? The reason why you want to use your Dynamite to engage against teammates, against bad guys, because your teammates are most likely going to follow up. And since the Dynamite is going to be doing damage over time to the enemy players, guess what? If your teammate follows up and they're really good at doing it, you are going to be able to wipe out the enemy team pretty easily. Okay, so as you're playing Ashe, a lot of people are going to try to run away from you because you've weakened them. They're going to get behind cover and they're going to think they're safe. You want to throw your Dynamite behind that cover that they are at and finish them off. Or if you know that there's someone behind the corner and they're sort of like weak, or they're sort of like healing, you want to throw the Dynamite and of course explode it, and then of course engage in combat with them. Now, when it comes down to playing Ashe, guys, you absolutely need to be good at hitting your Dynamite. If you're not hitting your Dynamite, you're not maximizing her. If you are not that great at hitting Dynamite, specifically on console, since it's like harder, since Dynamite doesn't have sort of like an auto aim feature, whatever. If you're not good at hitting Dynamites, go into the practice range and make sure that you practice hitting Dynamites with all sorts of you know, directions. Anyways, another thing that you guys need to keep in mind when it comes down to combat tips with Ashe, let's talk about her weapon right now, right? The Viper, as it's called. Okay, so here's a tip that I learned from a Reddit user in the Ashe and Bob mains subreddit. I can't find his post, so I can't give him any credit. But long story short, if you always want to make sure that the shots that you land with Ashe's primary fire are accurate, make sure that you wait until Ashe puts her entire hand on the back side of the Viper gun. If Ashe doesn't have her hand on the back side of the Viper gun fully, that means, of course, her shots are going to be very inaccurate and are going to have that spread that basically makes the primary fire inaccurate. I've seen a lot of people, specifically in Ashe Deathmatch, just use the primary fire, just trying to spray down. Look, guys, it's not gonna work. All right, if you're in a deathmatch, it might work, but if you're in a quick play match, it's not gonna go down really well. Ashe is all about using her scoping ability. All right, you are rarely going to be doing any impact in the match if you're just using her primary fire. When you're fighting a 200 HP target, all right, you want to hit them 2 times scoping in, and I would recommend that you might as well just finish them by, you know, the scoping animation, you know, with the ADS. But if you want a 200 HP target, you can shoot them twice scoping in, and then you can of course just spray them down. A 250 HP target, however, is a different story. You don't want to shoot them twice ADSing and then spray them down. You want to shoot them 3 times ADSing and then of course spray them if you wish. On top of all that, on 200 HP targets, you guys can also shoot for the head and then just spray them down. But yeah, you absolutely want to make sure that you're aiming down sights with Ashe, otherwise you're not going to be as effective with her. Okay, so let's talk about Bob, and I just want to point out, Bob is a completely different story, which is why I'm going to have a separate Ashe guide out on him. So again, feel free to subscribe if you're interested in that. But here's the thing, if you guys are aware of how your teammates are going about handling squishies, then you can specifically just only and exclusively target tanks with Ashe. And this is just going to give you the ability to get your Bob as fast as possible. Now, something I've noticed from Bob is that he's a game-changing ultimate, right? The faster you get Bob and when you call in Bob is going to determine the outcome of your match and how much of a great Ashe player you are. But like I said, I want to make a separate video on Bob because there's all sorts of tips with Bob, like when to throw him in, how to aim when you're going to throw in Bob, when to call in Bob, when to realize when you need to hold off Bob, how to combo with Bob, stuff like that. Okay, so I got a positioning guide with Ashe coming soon. I got a positioning Ashe series coming soon. I got a guide on how to land more shots with Ashe. And I'm also brainstorming a couple of more guides with Ashe that I'll tell you guys about in the future. So if you're interested in Ashe content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And of course, I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Peace.